Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel. I'm your host of L2 Productions. You are watching I Watch You Watch. Today we are covering Belle Collective. This is season 7, episode 9. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video. You can also share it. And you can subscribe if you are new to this channel. Welcome aboard. And leave your comments below. Now let's get into this episode. Okay, y'all. So, we start off with a double date with the Rogers and Pearsons. Obviously, this is for camera. And obviously, these jokers don't want to be around each other, but at this point, producer said, make it happen. And I'm not really interested in this scene, but anyways, I'll say what happened. They went to this restaurant called Sur La Table, at least how I wrote it down. They're going to be learning an Italian dish called Nona's Chicken. Nona is grandma in our terms. The only reason I know about the word Nona is because of Ariana Grande. She would call her grandmother Nona. So, yeah. He also mentions the word mangia. Mangia is eat. Italians are really big on festive and dinners and eating, and they want you to eat up, and they will prepare the biggest meals for their family, and they don't want any leftovers. So eat, all that good stuff. So similar to black families, anyways. So they're going to be learning this dish and how to eat, how to cook it. Latrice still trying to stand on that she has cooking skills. We go back to earlier in the season where Latrice was trying to find food that was expired. If you really cooked, you would know that there's stuff in your kitchen expired. Now, you may not cook with a certain item for a while and you say, okay, well, let me go see what's going on in the cupboard or whatever. But to go and you needed Amanda to come to what you said to help you cook. So we need Miss Gloria on the phone. Miss Gloria, please tell us what your daughter can do and cannot do in the kitchen. Latrice says that anything that I cook, my husband will eat. Because you basically push him to do it. I don't know. But I'm sure Mr. Clifford, if he's not satisfied, he gets something else to eat. And possibly he's not trying to get on your bad side, so that's why he will scarf down whatever. But it seems like Cliff is not that person that is just going to eat something that he don't like, and he's going to tell you, and you better go get it right. But I'm not convinced that Latrice is a good cook. What do y'all think? They talk about Tamara's event, and they're like, yeah, I'm so glad that Tamara opened up. I didn't know these things. Because y'all never know. Y'all never cared. So Latrice said, I knew these things, but I'm glad that some of the others got a chance to know. Like, that is so crazy. So the only thing that you've ever wanted to get to know about Tamara is not really get to know. You wanted to use Tamara for her hosting thing. So it's just like, it's just strange. But you're this empowerer. I know everybody isn't your bestie. I get that. But for 7 seasons, at least since 2001, you have not taken out any effort, Miss Enterprise, to get to know people. I'm glad they got rid of the intro. Because what's all this, okay, let's get information, and you don't know anything about? And there's many reasons why there shouldn't be an intro like that for you. Latrice wants to have a baby now. I guess she got the idea in regards to, okay, well, the fibroids came back and I gotta have the surgery or whatnot. And of course they were pushing for her to take out her whole uterus if she does this fibroid surgery. And that's what happens a lot. I'm sorry, with black women, for whatever reason, they are quick to say, take out your uterus. And I believe that that is your more sure way of not having fibroids come back. But Cliff is now in the stage where he doesn't want children. After all this time of pushing her. Remember since season 2? And old girl was not really for it, Latrice. He's like, look, that era is over and I'm getting too old. Latrice said you was old when you was trying to push me into it. Yeah. Let me see. Anyways, Latrice is still open for it and she's looking forward to her Cliff for Ella. But whatever. Then they start talking about Latrice and Glendale are abstinent. You cannot tell me that Glendale is going without sex. Now, maybe he's been able to control himself because of the long time that he had to spend on the boat. Because, you know, he's like gone for at least what? 3/4 of a month? So, maybe he was able to sustain that way, but don't make me think that he's not taking care of himself or getting somebody else to take care of him. Letitia, you gotta be doing something for him, even if you're not letting him do anything to you. Because we know your husband. I know that sounds crazy. I know my husband. No, it's all the fool lie that you've allowed to be displayed on this show. You love playing in your marriage. And now look at y'all. But I still feel like this is all for a show. And at the moment, I'm just winking. Even though Glenn's like, I don't understand. She needs clarity without sex. And he says that I think that I can get clarity in the bedroom. Meaning that the sex is what's going to give me clarity. Then they talk about Carrie flip-flop. Latrice goes on and says that, you know, I had a sit down with Carrie and basically don't put my husband in it. And maybe that's why she flipped the way that she did. But whatever. I guess she didn't want to have any type of friction. She should have just said what she said. That, who was it? Was it to Selena? Don't sit up here and lie for some loyalty. But, you know, how those things go. Carrie flip-flopping. Cliff just says, don't try to put me in it. I'm not a Belle. But you did gossip. So I don't know what you're talking about, sir, at the same point. You did gossip at one point. He did say, you know, I told Matt, and then I told my wife later on. So you were gossiping about it. Let's see. Okay, so we go to the next scene, Miss Carrie. Carrie, she's in the kitchen. Looks like something going on. But this is with one of her other restaurants that's not the Mobile one. But Miss Eleanor, who is Carrie's mother, comes just to check up on her. But it's still the conversation. Excuse me. It's still the conversation of this old restaurant in Mobile. Now, but before we get to the restaurant situation, she's looking at her daughter, Miss Eleanor, that she's sweating. She's like, you sweating too much. You know, it's going to make you old. And Carrie is obviously uncomfortable with that and annoyed by that because it just seems like she's not enough for her mom. There's always something that's wrong with Carrie. So, but anyways, they had a potential buyer for a Mobile restaurant, but he couldn't get the loan for it. Matt has joined, and they're just trying to put their heads together. Oh, so what is the next move? Because you're just sitting there, wasting money. The doors are open, and all of that. Carrie's like, look, she is spending a surmountable money off of her influencer money in order to keep this restaurant afloat. She says that she's scared. Well, she's not scared. She just does not want to let down any of her employees. Like, I don't want to fire these folks. Okay. I mean, Matt says, well, you at least got some cushion because you don't take care of anything at the house. So that's a lot of money that you actually make, Carrie. If you're able to foot the bill for a restaurant and all the expenses, the monthly expenses and stuff, like, it looks like it would be better to just be paying rent at a place than trying to facilitate and operate in all these other things. Like, you can just shut the lights off from wherever you're renting. I mean, they're trying to simplify things. But Carrie is tired of them talking. She don't really say it to them, but she's in her professional saying that, look, I'm minding the business that pays me. It's not paying you, lady. There's no easy way to say it. It's not paying you. And that's why you're in the predicament that you're in right now. On to the Rogers. Probably one of the better scenes. It looks like Latrice is now trying to overcome her inability to confront people. One is her husband, but she's trying out a romance or relationship exercise where they turn to each other and they're able to tell each other exactly how they feel. But anyways, Latrice is bothered by Cliff talking about he wants to get a vasectomy. He said this during the double date with the Pierces, because he was like, "Well, look, you can still get pregnant if you're still doing married things." And he said vasectomy. So okay. Well, anyways, Latrice is hesitant on having the surgery because of all the things that she actually does in a day. She can't really afford right now to take 4 to 6 weeks off, and she's telling her burdens to Cliff. And Cliff is like, "It's no problem, I can handle it." He feels like she hardly does anything because a lot of times she's just on her laptop making stuff done. And Latrice is like, no. Look, I'm responsible for a lot. I have to handle a lot of things with payroll, with social media, lawyers, and all that stuff. You know, it's not, you can't just downplay what I do. And don't act like you can just step in. That's where her insecurity is at. That if I'm down for this long, it's just going to be an it show. And I can't have that. She just really expresses how she doesn't like what Cliff did to her when she had surgery before. When basically he left her. And he says, "Well, I asked you." And she said, "Look, a man gonna do what a man gonna want to do." So that's why she went on and just said, yeah, even though she wanted him there. I don't fault Latrice this time. I think that you should take some cues. There's no way that you're sitting up here asking someone, "Can you go?" when you know that your spouse is there. You could have said, "Hey, I'm going to be back. I'm going to take a little break and I'll come back." I think that she could at least handle that. For you going to say, "I'm going to go do this, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, because I don't really want to be up here." He says, "Well, I was trying to handle things while you were gone, da-da-da-da-da-da-da." I don't think that's all you were doing. And she said, "For my birthday and anniversary, you didn't even do anything." And I guess she was still in the hospital at that time, trying to heal. And she said, "That's just something I can never forgive you about." And Cliff is like, oh, you forgive me? No. I think with Latrice is that she tried to compartmentalize. I'm glad I said it. And just said, not that she's letting it slide, it was just like, "Look, I don't like what you did." And she just obviously has expressed it to her husband, but at the same point, it was like, ugh. He's not really not acknowledging it and not taking accountability for it. Let's see what's else. What she went on to express more as to, even though she let him go, even for what you did, and you went on and did what you did, her permission, it was just like her being abandoned. She's already expressed to us that she has abandonment issues. Her brother's leaving, her father leaving, and at a very vulnerable state that she was in, and something that can be high risk for her, you decide to bail on her. Then they asked the question, or at least Latrice, she answered, or asked, and then there was an answer in regards to, "How do I show you I love you?" Cliff gave his answer and Latrice gave his. Although it was a rocky confrontation, she believes that, that we need to address other things, but I think that now that we've broken the ice, it won't be as difficult as it has been before. All right, on to Selena. Selena goes and visits Tamra. Her teeth are done. She came back. They're done. They're done. They're done. Shout out to Nene, season 4, Roa. Yeah, she's just coming back from Colombia, of course. And really, they look natural. Surprised, because a lot of times you go overseas and they do a lot of bootleg stuff. So obviously they found the right people. When the procedure was supposed to happen, Selena did not list that she has high blood pressure. She didn't take her pill or anything, and while they were in the midst of doing part of her teeth, they got this reading, and she had to tell them that she has high blood pressure. So they had to delay finishing the surgery until that blood pressure went down. But she didn't tell them, not thinking that really meant anything, but it means a lot. Tamara goes on to tell her about what happened with the Museum of Timbre. She said, look, I done let you in on my life and all that. I need some of y'all to be transparent about what y'all got going on. So I'm glad that she's calling it out. It just looks like Tamara's just should not just sit there anymore. Because these jokers think that they can call the shots and act like they... No, we ain't doing that. Then they talk about the rumor stuff. Of course, she was able to squash what Shantae was trying to bring out there. And again, I'm just meeting you and you're bringing me mess. And then Tamara said, because they start talking about the baby rumor too. Like, who just continues to bring rumors to your friends? This is supposed to be some type of friendship group. That's all we doing around here. Not really getting to know one another. And somehow Tamara is the one that is just so uncooperative. There's truth to it, but however, there's a lot of variables on the outside that should be really looked at. But that was about it. That was it for them. The men, they have their own time together. So how the venue is set up is it looks pretty large. Matt walks into seeing all this tarp as the windows of this place, and it looks like a tent. And Matt was like, I wish we had a place where there were 4 walls and some heat, and I'll definitely get you. The rest of the gentlemen come. That's Mike and Glenn. And Glenn decides to be funny as the idiot that he is, and as a gag gift, hands over a baby bag over to Mike. Glenn, for someone who almost had an oops baby son, Glenn says in his confessional, he's like, I didn't mean anything about it. I was just trying to have a little fun. Whatever y'all want to think or whatnot. But you weren't even conscious of that. People in glass houses should not be throwing stones. But I'm glad Mike did clap back, saying, well, this could have been you. So I don't know what you up here. You should be the last person to say anything about babies and Mike said, look, I've never really worried about it. Hey, Selena is, and what she's bothered by is that how it got in the group and how it's actually circulated. To get to the bottom of it, basically, Cliff cops to gossiping. Of course, at first he's not really saying that, but the others are just clued in. No, that was you, Cliff. You was gossiping. They start talking about this whole situation from last summer, or not last summer, but from last season, with Glenn. Glenn just brings up that, and the others, like, somehow Cliff should have shut the thing down. Not out of an anger place, but just wanted to discuss it, I guess, again, for whatever reason. I don't know. It's basically, Mike and Glenn were like, Cliff should have shut that down when he was hearing all that stuff. I think Cliff knows, okay, this is a show. The others are trying to take it more serious than what it is. And we also have to, I guess we could take in consideration that he knows his wife and how his wife would take it. But then y'all stood it, not ignited. Ignited. Yeah. Like, no, nothing going on. It's Latrice. It's Manny. They're being very messy right now. So they get on this conversation about flirting with folks. Glenn feels like he don't be meaning anything by it, but somehow people take how I am as being this funny person and listening and observing and all that, and think it's flirting, and that's when people want to make a move on it. Okay. Cliff said, look, I've been telling you that you need to quit smiling in these 304's faces. In order to make their wife happy, you ought to change your behavior and not at all appear to be flirting at all with anyone. I think that talking to any woman in a DM for you is dangerous, Glendale, and I think you need to wrap that up and stop it. And that's for your wife. And really for yourself, so that nobody can really say nothing to you about what you got going on. But Sir, you just think that I'm just this jovial person. So what is it that took you? How did you? I would like to know who made when you were cheating on your wife. How did it happen? Were you still being your just jovial self? I would like to know. That's all I gotta say. Matt does bring up, like, I think that we all have been kind of guilty, not kind of, have been guilty of flirting. Of course, that's what Glendale was just talking about. Oh, I'm just an outgoing person, and just people just take it the wrong way and think that I'm flirting. Sir, whatever. Anyways, we move on. Let's wrap this up. Stormy is originally from Love and Marriage Huntsville. She was on there like between seasons, what is it, season 11, like 6, 7, and 8, around that time frame, maybe even 5. But anyways, she was brought on by Mel. But we know that her business, Campus Beauty, is really booming right now. She had her own acreage of land, all that good stuff. Well, we're finding more back history with Latrice and Stormy. Now, if you pay attention to anything with social media, there's a certain set of people that are really close amongst the whole Kingdom Reign family. Shout out Mr. Carlos King, the CEO and founder of Kingdom Reign Entertainment. Ashley from Love and Marriage DC, Stormy from Love and Marriage Huntsville, and then Latrice from Belle Collective. They were like this, and they're still like that. And they were going on all these vacations together, trips, and all that good stuff, and just having a good time. And I thought it was really great. And really, Ashley from DC was the one that started it, and people started copying. I won't go into who copied today, but she's the one that started bringing the folks together from the different shows. I'm like, y'all, really, I feel like Huntsville should be the ones leading in that. But anyways, now, well, we'll talk about that when we get to Belle Collective Birmingham. But now her and Destiny are close, which they weren't close before. But anyways, so we find out that Latrice and Stormy, they've been friends for 10 plus years. Back when Stormy was a hairstylist, she linked up with Latrice, and they were basically helping each other out to build their brands. She's building a house for her mom. That's Miss Betty. Miss Betty is something else. Latrice, she finished the condos, which are 10 of them that are above the restaurant taste. They're getting a lot of pushback from the neighbors. Basically, they don't want them in the neighborhood. So all the permits and all that stuff has been delayed because of what they're doing with City Hall. Even though Latrice is like, well, the same things that we're doing, some of your other patrons around there are doing the same thing. So what is the problem? So Stormy said, that's something. Are they white? Bingo. Stormy hit it right on the head. They're white, so it seems like that there is some racism that's going on, unfortunately. Stormy goes on to say, look, when she did this live stream, that's the way that kind of her business is flowing, or it's a great moneymaker. She is the first person to make $1 million in sales off of one live stream. I said, that's awesome. And this was on TikTok. For me, I don't know about TikTok. I've been there to view some videos or whatnot. It's just like, what am I going to do over there? Like, I don't know. But anyways, she said, like, I wish that there was a lot more praise, but $1 million dollar sale live stream is a big thing. But I'm not supposed to be the face behind all of that. So you could just call her the originator. She is the Little Richard of TikTok. One of them, but there's a lot of TikTok creators that don't get praised that look like us. It's quite crazy. Latrice talks about her fibroids and how we've already known during this episode that she doesn't think that she can really put her life on hold right now to have the surgery because she manages too much and nobody can really pick up the slack. You need an assistant, Latrice. You're a boss woman and it's time to delegate. Now we know Joshy was there, but he's not around no more. But you do need an assistant, and hopefully that is in the works for you. You need a COO, Chief Operations Officer, or Chief Operating Officer. You need that. You should be the CEO, and someone be the COO. and any other assistance in all the stuff that you have going on right now. So basically, she's made the decision to cancel the surgery. She does also announce, Stormy does, about Canvas Beauty. She's has a collab with Lala Anthony. Now, y'all know who Lala is from her days from TRL and all of that back in the day with Power. There's going to be a fragrance line that's being released and all of that. So she's planning her pre-release event that's coming up really soon before she actually launches the product. It's basically a way to for people to test out the product before it actually launches, just to see how it's going to do out there in the market, and then do the thing when it goes live on a later date. I think it's really smart. I think that should happen for everything that anyone launches, instead of just basically cold out there just launching something. You could catch a lot of fish and you may not, but at least it's a little more of a warm response of people who are already liking it. Gives people a preview and allows other people that may have been sketchy on even buying it, now you can get those sales right up front. So that was the end of the episode. I didn't even think I'd be talking this long. But it was a okay episode. It was more informal type of filler episode. But anyways, catch my review, because there's a new show that debuted last night, Belle Collective Birmingham, which is a spinoff. That basically why Stormy is on this episode is to spin off her character off into Belle Collective. I'm glad that the franchise is expanding, so hopefully you are tuned in. Watch it and come back to my review on that. But give me your thoughts of this episode. Like, share, and also subscribe. And until the next one, peace.